So,
Okay.
hello, and welcome to another stream tonight. Now that I've established that, fingers crossed, I can live stream in my new location, and we're going to be doing a annual stream that we've done the past 2 years now. Me and CP. CP, say hello.
Hi. Is it only 2 years? I thought this was the third year that we're doing.
Yeah, this is the third year. We've done it 2
Okay.
years previous.
Okay.
So I think 2017 we did our best and worst of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Norway, you were living in Denmark, so we were Scandinavian buddies. And then the year after that, I was in London, you were in your current location, and now I'm back in Wales, so we're country hopping all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the 2 previous years we did it at like July, and kind of the so far kind of lists of our favorites and least favorites.
It's official, guys. It's official. Here's the halfway mark.
And I think both times we said, hey, maybe at the end of the year we'll come back and see how our list has changed. It just never happened. So I'm saying this right now. We're not doing a follow-up.
Now we will do it at the
end. Me and you, we both tend to do kind of fairly extensive lists at the end of the year on our own channel. So it just kind of plays into that. But
yeah, the 12 people watch. It's fine.
So, right. We're going to go into our top 10 favorites of 2019 so far, and then our top 5 worst, least favorite films.
Bottom 5.
Bottom, yeah. So, how many have you seen this year?
I got my letterbox open. Up to date, it has 45.
Okay, so you're quite a bit ahead of me. I'm on 33 so far.
I don't know if you can count some of these as films, but
oh really? Well, like what, for example?
Oh, we'll get there. Okay, we'll get there. There's a couple that are in the bottom that's just that's lost time. That's what that is.
Hello to the guys in the chat. Hello again. Yes. So we're going to start with the bottom half or bottom 5. So I will start first with a loaded controversial pick. So this would be
is this 5th from the bottom or the bottom?
Right. That's right. I almost spoiled my very bottom. Okay, we're going to go like 5 from the bottom to the least. Okay. My number 5 is the Lego Movie 2, the second part. I enjoyed it. It was good-ish. And Batman I enjoyed more than anything else. Very strange. And we rewatched the first Lego Movie the night before, and I didn't enjoy that one as much either. So I'm not sure. I think the Lego Batman movie was the one I really enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was okay. Nothing wrong with it, really. Just didn't grab me very much. I think that's really the only thing I can say about it. But there were parts of it fairly entertaining.
That's surprising. I haven't seen it. That's quite surprising.
I wouldn't rush out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess there's a reason why it didn't really do too well.
Oh, did it not? I wasn't aware.
No, yeah, it didn't really match what the standard was when you're talking about the original Lego film. So with that said, my what would be my 41st ranked film is Unicorn Store, which was straight to Netflix. Captain Marvel herself, directorial debut.
Sorry, I just thought I could hear Dino. Never mind. Okay, carry on. So I was like hearing something there.
Every time Brie Larson's mentioned, Dino gets his wings. No, it isn't. It's not atrocious. It's just kind of meandering and lost, and it's such a bizarre, like, the whole premise of the movie is, she needs to set up a house for a unicorn, and the unicorn is real, and everybody that she speaks to either is convincing her that she needs to have faith in the unicorn and to just go ahead and build this environment, this house, this whatever for it, or they're just supportive of her. And what the one thing that I felt like the movie needed was a grounded character that was like what are we talking about? Why? What do you mean you need to build a house for a unicorn? And there's just none of that groundedness. It's just, yeah, of course unicorns exist. Here's this, and I know I support you. I completely believe you. What do you need help with? Building a house for a unicorn. And the acting is just, I think when I first talked about it, I said it reminded me of acting from a dream sequence in a porno. Everything's just so strange. There's no believability to any of it. It's just a rough watch. Just, completely devoid of Captain Marvel and anything she's got following her. I just not a good time. Thank you, no.
Well, one thing I can say is that Brie Larson is a bit hit and miss for me. I just
What?
Oh.
Short-term 12. You want to give me short-term 12? I'll talk about that. That's a good time.
For the record, this isn't me going like, I love Captain Marvel, I need to frame it. It was just a test to see if the that size of poster would fit in the frame.
What can I stuff in here that I could possibly damage and it won't really make that big a deal?
Or at least that's my story and I'm sticking to
it.
Yeah. I have seen the first 20 minutes of Unicorn Store.
Uh-huh.
I remember you were talking about it on the show business show.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I saw, it felt like, the next best directorial debut since, Citizen Kane, but I just I didn't feel like continuing it. And it seemed okay, but I wasn't up.
Yeah, no, it's not atrocious. It's just, it's not level, I guess is the best way to put it. There's no grounded character. It feels like this dreamland sequence throughout. There's no, like, it's real, but it's not. She treats her parent like she lives at home. She loses her job because, she's in this painting gig where they're all supposed to paint something on a wall in a frame, and she just paints the whole damn wall, and she loses her job, and then she's sleeping at home with on her parents' couch, but she's acting like a bit of a jackass to her parents. Mom, get me cereal, all this stuff, and at that point, I'm like, what am I supposed to feel about this character? Because I'm not, I'm getting a bit of a loser vibe. I don't know how I'm supposed to turn here, but that was just me.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Brie Larson. I think Short Term 12 is phenomenal.
Yes.
She's a great actress, but often if I watch like the first 10, 15 minutes of the film, I will continue. I'll see it through.
Mm-hmm.
I was just very tired. I turned it off, but I don't feel like I'm missing much by not going back to it. I don't know. But usually I tend not to do that. But anyway, so moving on to my number 4 from the bottom.
Okay.
Men in Black International.
Oh.
This was good, actually. It's fairly enjoyable. In fact, I would probably put this above the Lego Movie, thinking about it. But it's really splitting hairs at that point. There's just something about it that didn't quite land, and I kind of see some of these. There's actually seems to be a trend now that I'm looking at my bottom 5. It's similar kind of movies that just don't seem to really latch onto me in too much of a big way, I think. I have only seen the first Men in Black, obviously, and the third one for some reason. I haven't seen the second one, but I loved that first Men in Black.
Likewise,
yeah.
I know. I might have it backwards. I might have the second one that I've seen.
Yeah, but so I'm not like a mega fan, but I love the first one, and it's fun. I like the way they continued it and stuff, and I do like Chris Hemsworth. I felt like the comedy just wasn't really clicking or working too much in some of it. Did you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's pretty close to my bottom 5.
Yeah. Not bad, but just nothing to write home about.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, there's not really
good. Here's another quick one. So now 42 out of 45 for me is Miss Bala, which I have very little to talk about. It is very, very paint by numbers action, very 2019 female you know, action, female-led action film about if you were in America, it'd be a little bit more heavy-handed with the border crossing and the Mexican and American stuff, but it very paint by numbers and a dime a dozen. These movies are so
I hadn't even heard of it.
yeah, unnoteworthy. Directed by Catherine Hardwicke, who directed Twilight.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Good movie. My number 3 from the bottom is X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Oh, mine was pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Apocalypse was one that seemed to get a similar reaction to this one. People thought it was really just not good. I loved Apocalypse. I just thought it was so much fun. Big kind of comic booky kind of action and stuff. And I was expecting to kind of be on the what's the term? Going against the kind of general opinion of Dark Phoenix. I thought I'd be one of the ones who's like, nah, do you know what? It was great. There's just something a bit off about it again. See, I don't have much, interesting insight here to these politics. There's just something that's not landing with some of these blockbusters. And I felt really bad about it because the talent involved is pretty damn great. I thought that Sophie Turner did a great job acting-wise. James McAvoy, one of my favorite actors. There's a lot of great moving parts to it, but just the whole cycle of it just didn't. Yeah. And it's just so funny because it's that Dark Phoenix storyline that they apparently screwed up so much in the third X-Men movie that the X-Men fans were so angry about. And now it's like, okay, we're going to do it properly this time. And apparently they didn't. So it just seems that, again, they squeezed that story down or tried to in one movie, and it didn't quite pan out. And I remember people saying, oh, they reshot the whole ending. Apparently the ending of the third act was in space or something. And then they completely reshot it and set it on the train.
Yeah.
And again, my initial reaction was, well, maybe they reshot it for a good reason, but that sequence just really wasn't memorable, I don't feel like.
No.
Yeah, no. So that's it for Dark Phoenix, really.
Bit of a disappointment. Snowpiercer, yeah.
I still enjoyed it, but Connie loved it. So I was happy about that. That she really dug it. So
good for her.
But a bit disappointing for me because I love the new X-Men films as well. So
yeah. My 43rd ranked film is the freshest one on my list. I just watched this, and usually when I watch something at home, I tend to give it a little bit of a break. But the film titled Little, which is a gender-bending, race-bending version of Big, 13 going on 30, all of those, I'm an adult, I'm a kid, something magic's happened, now I have to go do silly things as a kid, even though I'm an adult, or vice versa. Painful. Just painful. The comedy is just so over the top. Most of the characters are annoying. The big thing that they cling to about this movie is the fact that the little 14-year-old girl that's in the film is a producer, and that's great. That's great that you did that. But this is still a movie I got to judge on the quality of the film itself, and it's awful. I've seen many like it. And half are nowhere near as painfully obnoxious with the just loud. I don't know what it is about certain comedies that just think loud and like silly and over the top needs to be a thing for comedy, but just painful, just absolutely painful. No, thank you. I'll watch Big. Thank you very much.
Okay. I hadn't even heard of that one either. So, my number 2, my second least favorite film of the year so far, is Hellboy. Did you see this one?
I haven't.
God, it was just. I'm trying to remember what at the time. I think I said that it felt like someone had written the script and then handed it to a 15-year-old and said, "What would you change about this?" And the 15-year-old just went along with a marker and just put "fuck" fuck, shit, fuck. It was just like every character, it's like they're like, hey, we got an R rating, let's just crank up the fuck switch to 20. And it just felt unnatural and forced and like, fuck this, fuck that, fuck that, shitting. But, you know, there's some good moments in it. I kind of enjoyed David Harbour's performance as Hellboy. I still think Ron Perlman's pretty fucking perfect for that character. And I don't know why they couldn't. I know they had a meeting about it a couple of years ago and it just fell through. I would have much preferred to have seen that continuation. Ian McShane was Ian McShane. You know, there's good parts to it. I did enjoy certain elements, but overall, also the gore, much like the swearing, it just felt like they were just trying to be as extreme as humanly possible, just completely gross, like deaths and stuff, which I know people like. So I'm sure there's people who really dug that aspect of the film, but it just seemed like it was trying way too hard to be R-rated. I think, you know, it didn't take it as like, okay, now we can tell the story we want to. It's like, we'll tell the same story. We're just going to dial everything up and just go just slather on all of this extreme stuff. But yeah, it's just, yeah, that one was a bit. Man, that's pretty much all I got to say.
I feel like a poser. You have heavy hitters on your list, and mine. There's a couple of flakes here.
To be fair, I haven't really ventured outside of the cinema for new movies this year.
Good for you.
That's probably why. You know,
good for you.
Is heavily kind of more well-known titles.
My second to last, which most certainly should be last. That's how terrible this movie is. I will never be asked to screen titles for Uncorked Entertainment ever again. I'm pretty sure of that. But Uncorked Entertainment is a horror distributor that does knockoffs. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen all the cheap Krampus movies that keep coming out every year.
Sure. Yeah,
Krampus. That's Uncorked. Okay. So Uncorked said this year, wait a minute, there's a Pet Sematary movie. We can capitalize on that name. And they released Pet Graveyard. And woof. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's terrible. I guarantee you, if we shot from our current locations,
right,
we could pull off a better film. By the way, the Pet Graveyard is just a location. It's not like the Pet Graveyard is a thing like Pet Sematary is in the Stephen King book and film. Pet Graveyard is just a location they need to pass to get to do their voodoo stuff. That's like naming something about 9/11. That's like naming it Manhattan. It just doesn't make sense. You're capitalizing on a terrible name with a terrible movie where some shots are genuinely out of focus. There's no color grading. It's terrible. And that says quite a bit about my bottom film, but avoid at all costs.
But the burning question is, what were the font choices like in the opening credits?
I don't even remember. I don't remember. What's funny is I'll give them
Comic
credit.
Sans.
Yes, I'm gonna have to go back and check to get back to you. But what they do is they do really good work on their posters, and that's what they do. They make really good posters so that when you're on the line at Walmart and you're like, oh, look at that Pet Graveyard, I've never heard of that, and $4 I'll pick it up, and then you bring it home and it's Mary's Home Videos. You're like, what
is that? What got you hooked into watching it?
No, the fact that we had an early copy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it was right around Pet Sematary time, and I was like, all right, let's see what bootleg Pet Sematary is, and it was not Pet Sematary remotely.
Yeah.
Just bad, just really bad.
All right, so my least favorite film of the year. Midsommar.
Are you serious?
I don't know. See, I think it's one of the best films I've seen this year, but we're talking like favorites that you enjoyed. And as much as I can appreciate so much about this film, I don't know if I'd want to watch it again.
Oh, you are serious? Wow, okay.
And if I was looking at Lego Movie 2, Men in Black, Dark Phoenix, Hellboy, I probably would be more inclined to watch one of those again than Midsommar. long term, I think. But then my opinion could change,
Mhm.
and I don't want to spoil anything for this film for anyone who hasn't seen it. But
Mhm.
all I'll say is Ari Aster seems to have a very particular main character journey that he follows in his.
Misery.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a downward slope for the main character at the end,
Mhm.
you know, and kind of seeing that kind of back to back in Hereditary and Midsommar, it kind of is a bit like, I don't know, but it's half a joke that I'm putting it at the bottom. To be honest, I just don't know where to put it, but it's certainly just like, I don't know. It's a really tricky one.
I feel really good you said that, because I didn't know if we were going top to bottom, because Midsommar is somewhere in the middle for me. So
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm gonna have to explain why this is below this and above that. But if you're saying that, man, all bets are off.
Realistically speaking, I mean, it should be in the middle for me too. But I just look at other films that I enjoyed more, even if
Hmm.
they are more palatable and more safe, you know. But I
Hmm.
certainly respect it, and I think that some of
Sure.
the acting,
The cinematography is really good. He's got an
cinematography,
eye.
the
Yeah.
score,
Uh-huh.
even the editing are all like masterful. Like I really would really praise the film a lot on that. But uh, maybe it's doing its job that it makes me feel so about it in terms of just what happens towards the end or throughout the whole film, really.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. So again, if I was to say best films of the year, like just technically and objectively, uh,
Hmm.
it would be near the top, I think.
Hmm.
But just enjoyment wise, I think I probably. But I don't know. Maybe I would check it out again and see if my opinion changes now that I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't done that with Hereditary yet either, so
Ugh.
I would be intrigued. But you know, I
Ugh.
certainly that opening. Oh, you haven't seen the opening, have you? The first like 10 minutes.
I'm familiar with it, but yeah,
Yeah,
from what I understand,
there's a
it's a
certain
little heavier.
scene. There's a
Yeah.
certain scene in the first 10 minutes. I don't know if I'd want to see that again because it's so harrowing. You know,
Mhm.
as much as it's brilliantly put together. But anyway, either way, this just gets the conversation going for the movie, which is only a good thing if someone hasn't seen it. But there you go.
Mhm.
So we'll now move in. No, you haven't given me your number. Your
My bottom, here
okay,
it
here we go.
comes. My bottom, number 45 out of 45, is the brilliant, self-funded, self-directed, self-produced, self-starred Loquisha, which is about a white man who's a disc jockey who poses as a black female on the radio and is so tone deaf and offensive. And this is coming from a comedian who perhaps uses words that get myself in trouble. It is awful. There is nothing redeeming about this movie. Like, whatever, I don't know if there's a message that apparently is trying to be put across in this movie. I missed it. It is just terrible. It is. What's weird is, like, I don't think there's cursing. I think it's a PG-13,
Okay.
but the nature in which this guy does this shticky racist humor is, he doesn't use curses or anything. He doesn't drop any N words, but at least I don't think. It's been so glazed over. It's like, just because you're not saying certain words doesn't make it offensive. It was. I can't believe in this day and age that movie got made. Forget it. Forget the fact, it could have been American History X or something, where and that's a far cry from something like this. But there's no redeeming quality to it. It's just, race jokes disguised as a passion project, and it's awful, awful.
Yeah, everything I've heard about that, even just on the surface, just sounds entirely abysmal. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel sorry that you even watched it.
Yeah, well, actually, I think we streamed us watching it, so you can actually experience it with us. If you're in America, it should still be on Amazon Prime. for free, because that's more than it's worth. So you can go ahead and experience it with us, because that was pain.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. So that was our bottom 5 of the year so far. And then one thing I will add about Midsommar is thinking about because Emily posted something today on Facebook about, like, films that I appreciated, but would never want to watch again, something like that. And maybe there is worth in that, in a film that is brilliant and really well done, but it's like a singular experience,
Yeah.
Because for me, I judge like films that I enjoy the most and how much I could go back to them and enjoy them again and again. And I'm no film critic, so my list's always based on personal preference more than which is why I had Mortal Engines in my top 20 of last year.
Which I enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed
Yeah.
that. I'm right there with you. That was all right. I had a good time.
And I think there might be an example of that in my top 10, perhaps. But anyway, so we'll get into top 10s.
Have you, before you get any further, have you seen Irreversible?
No.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
That's a movie that a Gaspar Noé film where the cinematography is just nuts out there for the first half an hour or so. But there's a one take, a 10-minute rape scene that's just, there's no cuts.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that sequence. Not that I've seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's rough. It's I get the message. It's a brilliant message movie. I can't. I get it. The actors are there. They said cut. Everybody got up and had coffee. I understand that, but that's nope. Too powerful. Don't care. Don't wanna.
Yeah. I suppose with Midsommar, I like the kind of, I like hope.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And I kind of feel like with Hereditary, he did that movie. He did that
Yeah.
story where it ends like that, and it just felt like more of the same. He did a Reddit Q&A, and someone said, "Ari, are you okay?" And he just replied, "Nope." Which I thought was pretty funny. Apparently, they're releasing a director's cut of that movie next month, 3 hours. So
to the theaters or home media?
It has a screening. I don't know if it'll be like a wide release or anything, but I would assume they'll probably put it on Blu-ray as well. So maybe I would check that out. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll leave that where it is. I am going to kick off with my number 10 of the year so far, and I'm going to edit it actually. So I actually have Rocket Man at number 10 at the moment. But I'm going to switch Rocket Man down to number 11 and put Booksmart in its place. Now that I look at the list, I think I enjoyed that a little bit more, actually. So really good comedy. The best thing I can say about Booksmart is that the two main characters nailed the actors who play the characters nailed the best friend chemistry.
Yep.
Like, I totally believe that these two were best friends, and I would be stunned if they weren't really friendly in real life, either as a result of this or from. I think that the director, she had them live together for a while to really get that kind of bond, and it really shows. And it's a fun movie. I like kind of one night kind of movies, where it takes place over a short span of time, and all the different things going on. And Carrie Fisher's daughter was really funny in it, a really fun character. Just a really good time. And there's a really great scene where they have an argument and kind of the sound comes down, and it's a really kind of really good bit of sound work there to really enhance the dramatic essence of the scene. But yeah, I was really surprised by this one. The trailers looked like, I want to watch that. Probably not going to be a great film, but it surprised me quite a bit. Just a really entertaining movie.
Yep. My number 10 is Us, directed by our generation's Alfred Hitchcock, Jordan Peele. I would prefer Get Out if I had to choose between the two. Us is certainly ambitious. It's got a couple of cracks in it, but still, I'd rather ambitious horror like this that is trying to say a heck of a lot more than I don't know, something. I'm trying to think of a random thriller horror that came out this year. it's quite an experience, and the cinematography and stuff is I don't know if we should be dubbing him the next big thing, but so far so good. M Night came out with two strong ones too, and then didn't. So let's. I'm okay with Jordan Peele. Us is a good time. Could be better.
Yeah.
Certainly could be worse, but I'm encouraged.
Yeah, I have Us at number 25 on my list.
No,
Yeah,
okay.
so it's near the middle lower half. I think the first act of Us is incredible. I loved it. Really just stellar stuff. I'll try to dance around spoilers, but just to give you my thoughts very briefly. But there's a scene where a lot of bad stuff is happening, and it's like, holy shit. And then the family of main characters start joking about their kill count. And that was when I just suddenly thought, I'm not really invested in this in a serious way anymore, and I found the same with Get Out towards the end. Some of the humor didn't quite gel for me, but I understand it's a different way of doing things, and I did enjoy both films quite a bit. So
I picked up the Steelbook, and they have a couple of behind the scenes featurettes, and to see how there's a wide shot of the house when there's a bunch of kills, at the neighbor's house.
Yeah,
there's a wide shot of all those kills happening, and to see how they planned that was really something special. That was all timed with walkie talkies and such. You're really neat. It's nice seeing that kind of effort put into that genre, at least.
Yeah. I think that the tone, the way that comedy is introduced to the tone of his film is the problem I have. But as far as the actual technical aspects, really good stuff. So I'm definitely on board to see whatever he does next.
Right.
My number 9 is Pet Sematary. So I have no familiarity with this story whatsoever. Haven't seen the other movie. Haven't read the book, and CP has now disappeared. I don't know if he's still listening.
I'm just waiting for you to finish talking about Pet Sematary in your top 10. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see. That was a bit. That was a bit.
Yeah. I was doing a thing.
Okay, so is that because you find the original movie so much better? Is that kind of the thing, or just in general you didn't like the?
Oh no, go ahead. Finish. I'm assuming you haven't seen the original.
No, yeah, that's what I said. I haven't seen the first movie.
I'm sorry. I was doing a bit. I didn't hear
you. Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was a great horror film. I was intrigued by the story. I was beat by beat as it progresses. I just thought it was well done. I thought there was a creepy mood to it. And the very ending of the film, by my standards, would be like, so that's how it ends, bad stuff happens. But I kind of thought it was kind of fun. I really liked the last beat of the film as well, which was surprising for me because I don't usually like those downer endings. But I don't know. All told, I really enjoyed this. And I'm not the biggest horror guy, but I really did like Pet Sematary quite a bit, which seems to be a fairly unpopular opinion.
Yeah, you know what? I almost feel like I have to speed past this. I have to get you a copy of the original, even if it's my uncle's copy. But keep in mind that the original is slightly, it's a 30-year-old film, slightly more campy, but I think it'll be interesting. Lindsay from Show Business, he did it backwards too. He watched Show Business. He watched Pet Sematary 2019 first, and then 88, 89, whatever year it is, and he changed his mind. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see. I mean, that's the ongoing question when you watch stuff that's remade or something that's inspired by something. I forgot there was a Kurosawa movie that I watched. I watched whatever it inspired, and then what was it, Hidden Fortress? I was just like, yeah, right. I get it. So it would be interesting to see if you have time to put us. I mean, especially for it's not the greatest thing in the world, but
yeah,
top 10. All right. Yeah, I gotta.
There wasn't anything where I thought, oh, that's not good. I was so on board with the story. I love that concept of kind of messing with your what you're not supposed to mess with, going against the kind of order of nature
Yeah,
stuff. It was a really cool story, I thought.
it's
And,
the original is slightly a bit more melodramatic, but there's a major death in both movies that I think is completely handled differently. And I think the tone, I think the weight of that major death in the first one and the after effects of it are just far heavier. I mean, maybe you want to distance yourself from Midsommar a bit before you take that on. But I'm really curious, even if you only just watch the death scene from the original Pet
no,
Sematary.
I definitely want to watch the film.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see your opinion.
Yeah, especially since I enjoyed the story so much, and big fan of John Lithgow, so I was already kind of in the bag for that. But I think he was really good.
Fred Gwynn is the original. Yeah, there's lots to unpack with your opinion. I'm that's a little project of mine now to get you to watch the original. Wow. Okay.
All right. So,
Where are we? What day is it? What happened? What are we at 9? Am I
yes.
9?
Yes.
So my film, I don't know. Again, another, this is what happens. I spend too much time in the horror community. I get these little screeners. I don't know if this is out yet, but it might be digital. It might be out soon. It's a 2019 release. It's called Trap the Devil, or I Trap the Devil.
Lucky, like Blu-ray down. I don't even know if this is out yet.
Yeah. I get these emails. Hey, check this out and whatever. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about it. I'll watch it, but I'm not gonna do a review on it. I don't do reviews. Sorry. Send me the Blu-ray. Oh, no cover. Sorry, I'm not.
Just send it to my Patreon and I'll do the review.
Yeah. So Trap the Devil. How do I explain this without ruining it? So there's a dude in his family's house that they're keeping him in the basement because he sees the devil, and he has what he thinks is the devil locked in a door. And the further along the movie gets, the more the people that he's in the house with think he's just crazy. And so you as an audience member are starting to lose faith in the fact that oh yeah, this guy, no, it's not, he doesn't have some crazy creature, some horrible being locked up. He's lost it. So there's a certain point by about the second, late second, early third act where you're like, this guy's just nuts, and he's gonna damage some people. So with all of that antitrust between everybody, some things start popping off, and I can't say much else about it. It's an incredible journey into trust and taking somebody's word and understanding what they believe and what they're experiencing and what that feels like to the rest of the environment that you're in. It's really, really interesting, and the third act really made it. It's a low budget indie film, but I was really impressed by the third act.
So you said the guy's in the basement.
Yeah, so there's
Is this like a one location movie kind of deal?
Yeah, one house.
Okay. Yeah,
one house. Their friends are upstairs. They left or something like that. Then they come back.
Mm.
The dude's downstairs, and he's got a door locked, and he's got like barricades over the door, and the person's trying to talk to him. And every now and again, you'll hear like a different type of voice, like a female voice or whatever voice. Come on, let me out. I need help. And you don't know. Like they leave it to where you don't know if he's imagining that or if it's a devil that's actually changing the voice to try to manipulate him.
Yeah. Okay.
I was, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but for some reason, again, watched it at home. That usually changes my mood. If I could pause it and go pee or something, I'm a little bit more on board. But I really had a decent time with this movie, and the third act totally made it worth it.
Well, based on your passionate kind of take on it, I'm actually quite intrigued to check that one out. So
watch Pet Sematary first.
That's the priority list. Okay. My number 8 is Glass.
Ooh.
M. Night Shyamalan. Really, really enjoyed this one a lot. So Split came out a couple of years ago, and it looked like from the trailers, just looked like a really good thriller. Loved James McAvoy, so I was like, "Yep, we'll go see that." Loved it, and then at the end, Bruce Willis turns up, and I'm like, "Huh? Oh, is this that other movie that Shyamalan made before?" So I hadn't seen Unbreakable.
Oh, is he doing the gimmick thing? Oh, I see. Okay.
So I watched Unbreakable, I think the night before we went to see Glass, so I got kind of the full picture then. But I just love the idea of kind of the way that trilogy forms itself is really interesting to me. And I think McAvoy's great. I thought Bruce Willis was, I mean, a lot of people talk about how Bruce Willis only seems to show up every now and again to the many movies that he's in. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he at least, halfway cared about this one.
Yeah. Yeah, not fully cared.
No.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed how different this one was. And, when you have them all in the same facility, the different kind of ways that they were kept, I just thought it was a really cool dynamic. I like the color choices for each character.
Oh, yeah.
Just cool stuff. And then the ending I thought was just a really interesting twist to everything, and I really liked it. I know some people were mixed on it, but
yeah, I'm not challenging you, mind you. You were okay with the way things developed towards the end without much setup. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
There wasn't much really at the end that I thought, that I wasn't okay with. I don't think so. I don't know what specific part you mean, unless you mean just the whole kind of sum of the.
So something was revealed in that third act that we had no knowledge of going into it, and it was just like, oh wow, just a little piece of it, just a picture somewhere along the lines in the first two acts. That would have been nice just to.
Yeah, no, having the benefit of then having watched Unbreakable the night before, I kind of got a feel on the whole. The character of Samuel L. Jackson, Glass, about his fixation on comic books and everything. I love that kind of idea. He was feeling that these comic books were like our modern day kind of myths and all that kind of stuff. Obsessed with finding a real life, and I liked how that played into the. It was almost like they were kind of, I don't want to say critiquing the modern superhero movie, but by the end of Glass, you had those three characters outside that building, and it was like the big showdown, and it just doesn't quite go the way that it usually does.
And it's not in this grand location; it's a park.
Like a nondescript kind of.
Which, mind you, it's 13 for me. It's literally below it's 5 below. I'm looking at Letterboxd. It's 5 below my next one, so I'm not crapping on it. It's just there's this moment at the end where something gets revealed that it's just like if he just gave me a little morsel of that in the beginning, I'd be a little bit more inclined to take the payoff.
Yeah,
but that's just a gripe. It's not really much of a pet peeve. My number 8 is Dragged Across Concrete.
I was vaguely intrigued by that one. Haven't seen it.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn, Mel Gibson. Oh, why is your name slipping my mind, Mr. Director? He did Bone Tomahawk and Brawl in Cell Block 99. This guy's got a style. If you know anything about me, I like my movies tightly paced, and this if this movie were 20 minutes shorter, man, it would be way higher. But a really, really fun time. Not fun. It was a good movie that developed the characters of Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn. Haggard dudes. One of them just lost his job as a police officer, and they're trying to stop some bad dudes. And the movie certainly takes its time getting that done. There's a bank robbery in the middle, and then we're just trying to get them towards the end. It's just just an old-fashioned good time. So far, I'm forgetting this guy's name, and I feel terrible for it. But so far, he 3 for 3. Okay in my book.
Yeah, I do have Bone Tomahawk. I haven't watched it yet though. Purely got it for the Kurt Russell for sure. But I have heard about a few things about that film.
The scene, yeah.
So my number 7 is Stan and Ollie.
Oh,
Already forgotten the actor who plays Oliver Hardy, John C. Reilly, yeah, and Steve Coogan playing the legendary duo Laurel and Hardy. Are you familiar with? Well, you probably know who they are, but have you watched
yeah.
much Laurel and Hardy?
I'm familiar. If you ask me to name something by title, I'm
Yeah,
drawing blank. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not even that, like, movie title name basis, but I grew up with a lot of the short films that they did, and
Mhm.
definitely loved their style, and I was intrigued to see.
Sure, sure.
Of course, and so I was intrigued to see how they're going to handle this story of Laurel and Hardy towards the end of their career and even lives together, doing this last kind of hurrah tour of the UK. I like that. I like that it wasn't about them and their heyday of making these classic movies. It was about the tail end, and I thought that their performances were really kind of, in a way, spot on, but also kind of, it allowed them to kind of, I don't know, it wasn't like I was watching impersonations for the whole movie. It settled in naturally, where I wasn't watching like
Mhm.
an impression for, like, an hour and a half, and so I could actually get involved in the story and everything. And I really, really liked it. It was very touching, and just a really good, well made, and very well acted film. Not too much more to say about it, really. Just a really good one.
Sure, sure. My number 7 is Fighting with My Family.
Oh, nice.
The Page story, which I felt it could have been campy. It could have been taking itself a little too seriously. But Stephen Merchant balanced the comedy and the rockiness of it all. I felt like if a female wants a Rocky story, this is perfect. Like, they weren't too heavy-handed with any of the the gender differences and stuff like that. She held her own. It was a really, really great story. The only thing, I'm putting real life stuff into it. Knowing how the end happens, it's like, wait a minute, no, that she was already in NXT and whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that's tragically sad about this is, as this movie comes out, she's no longer wrestling, and it's just like, oh, what a terrible, it's an inspiring story, and here she is, she's done. She's not even 25 yet. I don't think she's done.
Yeah, I mean, she made a mark, and
Oh, sure.
this movie kind of solidifies that, I think. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely with you. At the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, there's a bit of sweetness to that they don't really address,
Yeah. I wish they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm technically in one shot of this movie, because when they show the match towards the end, I think, like, because the stage changes designs,
Uh-huh.
so there's clearly the stage they used to film the match years after the fact, and then
Oh,
the actual live
WrestleMania.
shot. Yeah, so there's
Yeah.
like a live shot on Raw. So technically, if you can, like, zoom in with a microscope, I'm in one of those shots.
Get that IMDb credit.
And as I'm watching the match in the movie, I was like, oh, this is a lot longer than it was in real life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, they had to make it an actual back and forth for the movie.
Oh, she didn't botch it at the end there. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, this is a really good film. It's not my top 10, but I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
There's a few things, having a fairly intimate knowledge of wrestling and stuff, that I was like, but for the most part, I think
Yeah.
I was really surprised by how well it conveyed the story and the wrestling industry.
And knowing that Stephen Merchant was directing it, and the other half of Shaun of the Dead, what is your name? Why is his name slipping my mind? Oh, no.
Simon Pegg? Or
No,
Edgar
Edgar Wright's the director. What's the third one? The he played the father, and wow, what's going on with me? Oh, these medications suck.
Oh, Nick Frost. Of course.
Yeah, Nick Frost. Nick Frost. When it was written by Stephen Merchant, Nick Frost was in it, and the trailer was a little comedy. I was like, oh, don't make this silly. Like, this is your chance to, and they didn't. They sprinkled in the humor, because she does have a rather, from what I understand, this movie's based on the documentary.
Yes.
Which, the family's a little interesting.
Yeah,
and they stay true to that, which is
yeah.
yeah.
I really enjoyed that, like, that
Uh-huh.
they allude to, like, unlawful things going on, and
Yes, yes,
it
stealing drugs, yeah,
played off as this kind of endearing thing, which,
yeah,
honestly, being from the UK, that's the experience a lot of the times, and so
good for them. Yeah, no,
I really like that they stay true to that.
I'm waiting for the 4K or a cheaper price, but that's a must own for me, absolutely.
Yeah, and I was a bit worried about the involvement of The Rock, him kind of inserting himself into these kind of motivational moments,
Yeah,
and those moments do very much feel like that, and he's, like, on the poster front and center.
yeah,
But I think that probably got a lot of people to watch the film, and so I think that
yeah.
it's a sacrifice probably worth making to the story to
Sure,
kind of
sure.
get the butts in the seats. And if anything, I say that film really shows you the range of Florence Pugh, who plays Paige, and
Mm.
the lead in Midsommar.
Big year for her. Sure, sure.
Two very different kind of performances.
And a very traditional female, not a thin,
Sure, yeah.
bombshell.
Yeah.
It's just a regular girl as far as looks are concerned.
There was some review of Fighting for My Family where it was like they called her chunky or something.
Oh man,
And
really?
she just commented on it, and then the real Page commented on it, and it was just like looking at it was a bit, wow, okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, so anyway, so that was your number.
that was my 7. I think you had your, so you're up to 6 now, I believe.
Yeah, my number 6. I don't think you'd even see this in anyone's top 10.
Uh-oh.
Is Tolkien. So
Oh.
this is the story of a young J.R.R. Tolkien, played by Nicholas Hoult, pre-Lord of the Rings, during mainly, I mean, it's actually set during his childhood, going to a boys' school, and then as a young adult, and him figuring out his life as a kind of writer and linguist as well, his kind of work with languages, which would go on to figure hugely into his creation of Lord of the Rings, and also his experiences in the World War, which did shape a lot of the imagery in Lord of the Rings. I just thought the first 5 minutes of the movie, I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this. It's all like British posh boys, like, oh yes, and all this and that, and all. I just I can't relate to this at all. It's a completely different world. And then at the end of it, I was so moved, and I just thought it's a really delicately acted film. It's a very quiet drama. It's fairly dry,
Hmm.
slow paced, but just I really connected to it and thought it was a really sweet story. And I loved that it wasn't really about Lord of the Rings. It doesn't really cover him writing it or anything. There's like the seeds every now and then,
Sure,
but
sure.
I really liked that, and his kind of the fever dreams he was having in the trenches were really effective. And yeah, I just really liked everyone's acting, and just really, really damn good film, which really surprised me, which might play into why it's higher up on my list, because I was just, came out of the cinema just like, wow, that was great. I like it when a film really surprises me like that.
Hmm.
Damn good film.
Yeah, so I'm realizing this now that I have 2 documentaries in my top 10. And I don't know if you guys have gotten this. It was an HBO film. So I don't know what that means for the rest of the world or what, but this was HBO is a cable. Oh, you have HBO. You know what HBO is.
Yeah, I think there's like a UK equivalent, or
Yeah. Okay. So there was a straight to HBO documentary which Oprah produced, titled "Leaving Neverland," which is about Michael Jackson and a pair of his accusers that have now come forth and discussed. And it's a 2-parter. I think it's like a total of 4 hours. They discuss their history, from 10-year-olds up until late 20s and stuff, discussing the tumultuous, interesting, rather bizarre nature in which he had relationships with them. And something that I love about documentaries is if you leave it and you want to talk about it or you want to look into the subject more, and this movie just had me right, wrong, or indifferent, whose side, whatever. I mean, obviously one party is now dead, but you look at a lot of these facts, and he was taken to court a bunch of times and managed to get cleared. And one of these people who was in the film, said that he went to went to bat for Michael Jackson in one of these court cases, and felt horrible about it, and hasn't been able to deal with himself. And you want to talk about a miserable time? These people have been through it, and yeah, it opens the question, like people like Bill Cosby and the myriad Weinstein, all these people who are sexual predators, alleged. Where does the art start? Where is it okay to enjoy somebody's art, and where do you start ranking the person as a crappy human being? And I don't. It's another one of those things. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again, but it was just incredibly fascinating. I could not turn it off, and I was so frustrated because it was in 2 parts, so I had to wait a week. Like if it played the full 4 hours in a shot, I think I was prepared to go all the way through. But it's I don't know if it says something about the style of like nothing about the documentary itself really, the cinematography, not the editing, nothing really jumps out at me. It was just the story and what these people were saying. Even if they're lying, the amount of balls it takes, because Michael Jackson is a superstar worldwide. People are gonna hate these people regardless of if they're right. I mean, just the courage and the bravery to come forward and do this. There's something to be said for that. Again, right or wrong, it's just fascinating to see what these people are going through, and they have like pictures and stuff where it just doesn't make sense. Like why would Michael Jackson invite a 12-year-old boy to come to his house and do sleepovers and have dress ups and sleep in the same bed and ask for a pair of underwear, and like there's a story where he asks one of the kids to throw out his underwear, and he didn't really understand what that meant, and it's just devastating. Again, allegedly because somebody's not here to defend themselves, but just fascinating. I don't know how I feel about it. I just know I'm fascinated by the story.
Yeah, I've only really briefly even looked into that whole thing or seen certain documentaries over the years. Never really done a deep dive on it. Not sure if I'd want to.
Yeah.
I know that film got a lot of talk when it came out. The only thing I can say is that knowing about his life and how he was pretty much robbed of a childhood, we totally understand why he related to kids so much.
Yeah.
And if further things happen from that, that's awful. But I have no idea. And the common defense is, well, he got, they went to trial and he was declared innocent. And that doesn't always mean, look at making a murderer, not to switch, completely.
Yeah, sure.
But, I don't think the word of one trial is necessarily a complete defense. But then again, I haven't looked into any of it, so I can't really comment at all.
They also had doctors on that spoke to what you were just talking about, that this guy was a star at like age 8 and just did not have childhood. And there's this track record of all these celebrities that if you rob them of their adolescence, they just tend to, I mean, hell, Corey Feldman still doesn't seem like he's over 14. Like there's something to say for it, and I don't have the answers. I just know it's fascinating.
Yeah, and I know that Feldman is just very much out there on the pedophilia problem in Hollywood. He fights it so strongly, and he has said that with his experience being a friend of Michael Jackson, he completely stands with Michael Jackson on that. And so,
interesting.
And so does
I didn't know that, huh?
So does Macaulay Culkin. And my first instinct is to trust their word, but then do I even really know them? No. So it's such a loaded topic, that one, I think. And considering he is one of the more popular, recording artists of all time, there's always going to be a lot of people behind that one way or the other because of just the icon that he is. So. But yeah, so I've heard mixed things about that documentary on the plus and the minus side.
Yeah, no, like I said, I don't know. All I know is I have more questions, which is something I love about documentaries. If I have more questions about something afterwards, perhaps that's a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe it should. My favorite type of documentary is shows you here's some sides of the story. What do you think?
Mm.
And that's kind of what this is. But please tell me your number 5 is something hysterical and lighthearted and and fun and
It kind of
cartoonish.
isn't. It kind of isn't actually.
Awesome! What a themed screen this is.
One thing I'll ask you though before we move on to the top fives, would you say that it leans more towards the side of accusing him? Because that's what I've heard, that it's more biased to that kind of digging into those.
They present evidence that's really difficult to argue against.
So it is lean towards that side of it then.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically told through these young men's side. Again, it's not like there's no representation from the Jackson family or estate or anything. So it is a bit slanted. And I think there is a title screen at the end where they say, Jackson was proven found innocent in court and blah 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 blah.
Sure.
Blah, blah. But yeah, it's fascinating. I can't say if it's good or bad. I just, something that took up that much of my time and I wanted to keep like looking into it. That's something to me. Again, I don't know if that's good or bad or what that means, but it fascinated me.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move swiftly on to the top fives, and my top 5 of the year so far is The Fight. This is a British drama, I believe written and directed by, let me just double check on that for a second. It is, yeah, fairly sure she wrote the film and directed it. It is Jessica Hines, previously Jessica Stevenson, who played Daisy in Spaced, who I'm quite a big fan of. And so she made her own movie, and I was really looking forward to checking it out. And even looking on Letterboxd, it has middling reviews, I think. A problem I had with the film, which is really tricky because I was tweeting about the movie, and the one thing I really didn't like was the cinematography, right? And so I was tweeting about things I liked about the film, and the cinematographer liked my tweet.
Ooh.
I was like, I'm not going to say it. But like, there seems to be like weird things where certain things go out of focus, and it's very kind of, I don't know if that was intentional or just, not entirely the best work. But the story I really, really loved. She plays a mother of a family, and she's going boxing training, and she's basically working out kind of the stresses of her family life through these boxing sessions and stuff. And then she wants to have a fight, and they're like, no, but she's really pushing it. But it's not really about the boxing too much. It's more about the interpersonal relationships. Her daughter, her daughter is going through problems in school with a bully. And I loved how it tackled bullying and the generational side of it as well. And the family relationships, just really strong acting all around, especially from Jessica Hines, who is the lead character as well. So yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this one. There's a great scene in it that I just like. I stopped breathing because it was so tense. So I think it did a really good job with the drama. But yeah, the cinematography was a bit frustrating. So it is what it is. You take what you can from both columns.
Sure. My number 5 is Booksmart.
Ah, nice, great.
Yeah, it seems like we have one of these every couple of years, and I'm curious. I don't know how well versed you are on the high school teenage comedy, but I'm curious to see where is it Breakfast Club? Is it John Hughes? Is that where this type of film has started? I'm curious to do like a mini series on where teenage comedy has started and come along. It only feels like it's only within the last 40 years or so this type of film has been made, where it's not speaking down to teenagers. It's kind of on their level.
Yeah, I was. It just jumped into my head was I've forgotten the title. American Graffiti, George Lucas's film.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, that's almost 50 years ago.
Yeah, it doesn't feel quite on the John Hughes level where it's all out comedy, but it just jumped into my head.
Hmm.
Yeah, it certainly feels like the '80s was when that really took off.
Yeah,
Its own
yeah.
thing.
So I mean, if you dissect it, there's nothing really new about it.
No.
There's elements of it that just feel like something you've seen before. But again, doing it from a female angle, not beating you over the head about it.
Oh, can I just say
Nope.
I'm gonna say it. I, Um, I loved that one of the characters was a lesbian, and it's just there. It isn't like a, hey, look, like it's just there. I really
Mhm.
enjoyed it. I just thought it was really just part of the story, and
Yeah.
not that I'm one of those people who are like, oh, they're just doing this to be SJW and all this bullshit.
Which is funny because like if I had a gripe, it was the fact that they kind of bailed on that. I get it. There's lesbians out there. The one thing I gave credit to Blockers, which I think you hated, right? You hated Blockers from
No,
last year.
no, I enjoyed it. It overall wasn't.
I just enjoyed seeing the raunchy teenage drama from the aspect of a female that just wants some dick.
Yeah.
So like here was an opportunity where I'm like, we got the female gaze here, even though it's about two females. Like I get it. It's fine. It's not that big a deal. It's just a minor gripe where like I felt like you could really speak to females that feel this way. Although I guess you have blockers for that. That's all well and good. It was and the bit of the twist there, not to spoil anything, but at first she's into a girl and it turns out that the girl uh, perhaps isn't her type, I guess is the most polite way to put it. And that's neat. That's stuff that you go through at that age. It's just a rather mature comedy for that generation. And boy, do I feel older and older as these movies come along.
Yes, yes, I'm with you.
But no, brilliant movie. I had a really good time with it.
Yeah, I remember like at the end of it just thinking, oh yeah, just that was a gay character and it was just
Sure.
part of the story. Like Love Simon I really loved from last year.
Yes. Yes.
But the whole movie is based around his sexuality, so it's quite a big topic. Whereas this is just, the love interest is of the same sex and it just is what it is, and I like that.
Mhm.
Oh, and I found out after the fact that the other actress is the sister of Jonah Hill. And suddenly I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. Like her mannerisms and stuff I could kind of see.
That's funny.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say on?
No.
Okay, cool.
Good time. You spoke about it. I spoke about it.
Yeah. My number 4 is Alita Battle Angel.
I'm gonna buy this thing. I know it.
Have you seen it?
No, it comes out Tuesday over here, and I think I'm just gonna blind.
I fucking loved this movie. I'm kind of gutted it won't get a sequel because spoilers. Oh boy, does it set up a sequel? Like the ending of the film was like, it's over. Like I thought we were building up to like the third act. It's got one of those almost like Amazing Spider-Man 2 endings where it's like, all right, let's oh, it's over.
Oh. Credits.
In retrospect, I still think it does work quite well as its own thing. And I don't think we will see a sequel, which is unfortunate. But like the world, I loved, and I think the visual effects of this character, I was so skeptical of. The big eyes, the kind of manga.
Yeah.
It just seemed very odd to me in the trailers.
How is Christoph Waltz?
Really good. I liked his character. I like where it's got a few twists and turns to it, and he's always dependable to give at least a decent performance, I think.
Well, see, my gripe with him is the only time that I really say, man, Christoph Waltz can shine is in Tarantino movies. Yeah. So I have yet to see him something. I mean, even the Bond movies, he's okay. He's almost like a campy, sticky version of himself. But
Yeah, I mean, there's no Tarantino dialogue in this. It's
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
no, he was really good. He really played the part well. But I thought the visual effects on Alita were stunning. Like
Okay.
really, I just got really wrapped up in it, and it was just different and interesting. And I was so on board with her character and her journey. It's not an amazing film, you know, and a little bit like Mortal Engines, it reminded me of like the cheesiness factor of 90s movies I grew up really enjoying, like Independence Day and stuff.
Ooh, okay.
There's a cheesiness to it, but it's kind of like an earnest cheesiness that I just enjoyed, and again, just the visual wonder of it was awesome. So I fucking love this film.
Compare it to Mortal Engines.
Ooh, I don't know. There's a lot of similarities, but they're both quite different.
I had so much fun with that, and I don't
think I even knew that. I'm happy to hear you did enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot somebody gave me crap for it, and I'm like, yeah, my track record between Mortal Engines, John Carter, Jupiter Ascending, I had a good time with it. For some reason, if everybody hates it, I think I'm gonna have an okay time with it.
I'm glad to see that Alita seems to have quite a cool fan base that's built up around it, so that's nice. My review of it like got loads of views, which my
awesome.
And standalone reviews don't get many, and there's just all positivity, so that was really cool.
Yeah, that comes out Tuesday here, and I think it's getting a steelbook. So
yeah, I wish it would get one of those like 2-3 hour documentary treatments, because I'd love to see like a proper behind the scenes, but I'm sure it's just going to be all like 10-minute fluff pieces like, oh, this was such a great film to work on. But yeah, that's definitely one to buy and own. And actually, me and Connie were talking about at some point when we get a 4K TV down the line, the first things we'll be going to Blade Runner, probably Blade Runner 2049. Alita is going to be near the top of that list as well. So.
Saving Private Ryan is really good in 4K too.
I haven't seen that film yet.
Oh, there's a reason to get started, if ever. Oh, you already on it. Okay, well there's half the battle. What are we on? 4? We're on 4. Yeah. Okay, so 4. My second documentary in the top 10 is a film called Fire, Fyre.
Okay.
About this festival that they started in some exotic island in the Caribbean, or I don't remember the exact location, but it was all a scam. They were taking people's money. They were, they tried to emulate these giant, like Burning Man, all these crazy things. These you wacky kids go and do your EDM and drugs and go hang out for 3 or 4 days in the middle of nowhere. So this Fire festival was supposed to be one of those, and they were just selling. They were selling tickets, selling exotic packages, and this, that, the other. And spoiler, they never set the thing up. Like it was just like a pyramid scheme of sorts. That there was no festival, and this really happened. And so a bunch of people showed up on the time for the festival, and they like haphazardly threw some stuff together. It turns out they didn't have anything to eat or drink, and that they had to ship in bottles of water for these people that paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to have this little 4-day experience. And again, a documentary that made me think, yeah, well, you know what, you have that much money to piss away on a 3-day weekend, and you wanted that much status. And it's again another fascinating story to see how people were like sight unseen. Yeah, what? Oh, it's the new thing. I think they had Ja Rule or a pseudo major celebrity signed up for it, and they were hooking up with Instagram celebrities or Instagram influencers. I think that's what they're called, and they would pay them to plug the thing. And then through that, because Kim Kardashian was all about it. People just wanted to be there because Kim Kardashian was talking about it. It's insane. It's just a really interesting look at what society is and how shallow we are. And again, a fascinating look at, man, if you got an idea and you know how to exploit it, America's a place to do it.
Oh man, yeah, I had heard of that film.
Yeah, there's two. There's one on Hulu and there's one on Netflix.
Yeah. So which one did you watch then?
The Fire, I think, is the one on Netflix. I have not seen the other one.
Yeah, that's where I kind of it just canceled it out for me. Where I was like, oh, which one? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, Armageddon or Deep Impact. I don't know.
So my number 3, I do have one documentary on my list, and this is it. It is 63 Up, directed by Michael Apted. So this is an ongoing film project that started in the 60s in the UK with a film called 7 Up, which followed a group of school children from various different backgrounds, like working class, kind of middle class. And the idea was to show you the person at 7 years old and to have some semblance of what they would then be like as an adult. And every 7 years, they make a follow-up movie. And I think the current director started with the second movie. So he's been doing this for like 50 years now. And
so it's Boyhood, but better.
Yeah, I would say so. It's a really powerful, yet simple. I mean, not to be, how can I put this? I feel like I could make these films in terms of the technical, in terms of the technical of just the filming the interviews and kind of putting it together and stuff. There's nothing too incredible or fancy about that. It's just the consistency of it, and the plainness of it is part of the relatable charm in a way, because you see them as kids, as teenagers, young adults, going into adulthood, getting married, having kids, going through, bad stuff, going through great stuff. And now you see them as old men and women. Just seeing them, and now that they've aged another 7 years, was moving to me. I was aware of the series when I was a kid, when one of the recent installments was playing. But it wasn't until 2014 they had most of them on Netflix. So me and Connie watched the first one, loved it. Watched the next one, loved it. It's not a binge-worthy series of films, though, because each consecutive installment heavily uses clips from the previous ones. So you start to get tired of the same stuff. But me and Connie still quote those kids in the first movie like weekly. It's just become part of our regular lexicon. There's just so many great memorable lines and moments and quips from these kids. And now you just see them as old people. And this was the first film where someone has died, so we dealt with that. And someone else is like, mortally ill, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see. And then it's life, that's the way things go. And you see how they deal with old age. And it's just, I think there were 3 episodes, so it's like a about 3-hour kind of project. But yeah, I mean, you look at it as its standalone thing, maybe not the most impressive thing in the world, but the consistency of it and the story of very ordinary people becomes extraordinary to me in the way that they've kept this thing going for so long. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, excuse me, I was just fixing something here. It's not fixed. Okay. So my number 3 is Lords of Chaos, which I forgot your director's name. I'm sorry. It's about a Norwegian black metal band.
Okay.
That, on the surface sounds quite unappealing to people, but
is this another documentary?
There is a documentary about the events. This is an adapted. Okay. The lead-in titles about. This is a movie about truth, lies, and what really happened. That's the opening title for this film. Norwegian black metal band that were worried about being considered posers, so they would do things to get that authenticity and the lengths they went to prove how hardcore, how metal they are, just escalated. And apparently, it was a really big deal back in Norway in the early '90s. They were burning down churches and trying to one up one another to prove just how hardcore they are. And over the course of their history, things escalate. And if burning churches, empty churches, mind you, were the only thing, then maybe it would be a shoulder shrug movie. But the things that escalate between these people, just to I feel like it's a movie that explores the need to be taken seriously and not be considered phony on so many different levels. And somebody who runs their mouth versus somebody who instead of talks, does it. And that relationship gets some people in trouble. And knowing, again, this is a dramatized version of some of the events. There's some serious stuff that happens in this movie, and some of it legitimately happened, and all because they wanted to be considered true metal people. And it's a lot gory. It's for a true story. You got to factor in, if you're not really into heavy metal, there's not, the music isn't the star of this movie at all. It's the polar opposite of Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody feels like a soundtrack movie. This is, here's these people and the things that they were doing just for the sake of seeming authentic, and where they weren't. If you don't know the true story, I'll leave it alone. But the way things happen in this movie is quite incredible. I was hooked. And another movie that's not a documentary, but I knew that some of the events were true. And sure enough, if I wasn't on the Google machine right after this movie and just searching things up, and wow, that really did happen. Wow, this they kind of altered this, but that it's fascinating. It's fascinating that the teenagers can be so frail, yet try to put on this front.
Mm. Yeah, I think with documentaries or films about real events, you can say, "Wow, they should have had every piece of information in there." But if the film's good enough, it should inspire you to look it up for yourself, and you can kind of get. And I do like that when I see a film and I want to know more about it, and there's usually a wealth of information to.
Yeah, the only information I had about this movie was they were infamous for burning down churches. And that's all I had. And there's way more than just that. They do a heck of a lot more than just burn down churches. So yeah, it's an R-rated movie. There's gore. There's it's a little serious. The music, when they first start, is a little heavy. It's out there. If I have a complaint about the movie, is that it's shot a little funky. Some of the tone at times feels a little, it's flatly lit. It feels like, like the way you would light a comedy at times. There's no real, cinematography work with the shadows, but minor complaint. I quite was captivated by this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you turn the volume off, it's almost like you're describing a film that was in your bottom, because it's a lot of.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know if this weren't a true story. I don't know how I'd feel about it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because afterwards I'm like, all right, so how much? Wow, all right, so this is true. That's nuts.
Yeah, it adds a much more loaded side to a film if you know that it's based on something that actually happened.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is The Favorite, which was a 2018 release for you, I think. Came out January 1st over here.
Fake news.
Fake news. Phenomenal movie. another one that I went to because it was, you know, award season. You want to see these movies, and I do quite like Emma Stone and, well, all three of the lead actresses. And again, a bit like Tolkien, it started, and I was like, oh, like this that kind of period. I'm not sure what you would even call it, Victorian. I'm not sure, but the style, especially like that kind of upper class royal style, just I don't like the look of it. I don't like the feel of it.
Yeah, isn't there a bunch of like fisheye angles too, where it's shot at this like really extremely wide angle?
Yeah, I hated those moments. A lot of
Okay.
people like this. That's my only complaint of the film. I
Yeah, I don't
thought
like
the fisheye lenses screamed like 90s music video to me.
that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it felt so out of place in this. The rest of it is shot fucking beautiful. I love the way that it's composed. And, you know, the locations and the buildings are gorgeous, and the costume design is great. Not I don't like it, but I got so drawn into the characters and the story. And I would say this is the best film of the year, as it stands with the UK release dates. So glad that Olivia Colman won the Oscar. Didn't think she would. Totally deserved. I think all three of them should have won because they all work just as great because of the other two. And it's such a great relationship triangle between these three characters. There's such a great dynamic, and I just loved it. I loved everything about it. You know, even if some of the more superficial things, like the way the costumes look, was not my style at all, and I don't usually like that kind of thing.
Mm.
I just, yeah, phenomenal movie. Just really dark and unsettling and hilarious at times. I loved the humorous touches here and there, and yeah, so the favorite. It's just great.
Okay, so my number two, I feels like my top 10 is just filled with Netflix movies. My number two is Triple Frontier,
Huh?
which has Ben Affleck. Ooh, I'm forgetting other names. Charlie Hunnam, and yet another one that's name is slipping my mind. But it is half the town and half drug runners. It's about these ex-army armed forces soldiers that have an idea to raid a drug lord's house, and they have a couple of ideas to because they recently got screwed over for their pension, and why not pull a Robin Hood and rob from the rich, rob from the bad to
Yeah.
alleviate your own issues, and things kind of spiral out of control because it's five special agents that are trying to rob the Mexican cartel, and essentially it becomes a heist movie. And by about the halfway mark, you're looking at your watch like, all right, so I think this might be the shortest movie in history, or something else is going to happen, and it takes this left-hand turn where they have these decisions to make. They're trying to figure out, do they want to survive or keep trying for the money, and they have to journey through these mountains to survive because they have a couple of issues on the way back. And it literally is two separate movies. It's half the town and then half Alive. I don't know if you've seen Alive, about the soccer team that crashes.
I haven't seen either of those films, so
You haven't seen The Town?
no.
Oh wow, okay. A Heat?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's half Heat and half Castaway with five people. It was quite interesting. I was pleasantly surprised at many elements of the film, obviously, and it had enough action in the beginning to really keep me engaged, and I really rooted for these people. And some things happened towards the end that really pack a bit of a punch that I felt were redeeming.
Hmm.
Netflix. Now, those accounts are worth it sometimes.
Yeah. Right, so we're up to now my number one. I would just say a few other films I enjoyed this year quite a bit was Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Okay.
Great, epic fun, long shot, really, really good.
That's on my hard drive.
I know Uncle Don hooked you up with that
Oh
one.
yeah, excuse me. Yeah, my uncle's hard drive.
I know you weren't a fan of it, but I really liked Greta. John Wick 3 was a lot of fun.
John Wick 3 is just outside my top 10.
Yeah, I liked Dumbo quite a bit, and The Dead Don't Die, which I recently saw, was pretty damn.
You're the one. Do you want to do something
apparently.
after this? After we do our ones, do you want to pick our most surprising film of the year and our most disappointing film of the year?
Yeah, we can go with that.
Okay.
Just roll with it.
I just had an idea as you were talking.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm assuming we have the same number one, but for me it is Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We might as well just share our number one because
Yeah, and we've already done a ranking stream of the MCU, and so I think we've both already kind of talked about that film quite a bit. But yeah, it's fucking great.
yeah.
I was thinking, now that like the film's been out for a while and I haven't seen it in a couple of months, I keep thinking back to that assemble scene at the end, when all the characters come back, and to have that kind of cliffhanger where all these characters quote unquote die, to bring them back in that fashion. I was thinking about Star Wars and how The Empire Strikes Back ends on a big cliffhanger with Han Solo not dying but being taken away. And so the cliffhanger is, how will they get him back? And I love Return of the Jedi, but to think that 3 years pass and then oh, there he is. He's at Jabba's palace, and then Luke kind of turns up almost unceremoniously. But with Endgame, it's just brought to this crescendo where they hold it off to like the last possible moment, and the build up to it, the reveal of it. Not that the whole movie is based around this scene, but I just think that it's that's what I think of when I think of Endgame, is that scene when all the characters come together, and it's just like, it's unbelievable, the scale of it. And I think it just passed Avatar yesterday, so
yeah, officially I've got news tomorrow. Yep.
Oh yeah, sure. So
show business finally get to talk about it.
It's kinda officially the number one film of all time now, depending on which way you want to look at it, with inflation or technically perhaps. Anyway, so yeah, Endgame. I still have to do like a spoiler review for that and finish off my Road to Endgame series. But
yeah, one of my patrons requested me doing a scene from it, and I haven't been able to do it without proper digital copy to edit. But yeah, on top of that, a lot of people give me a bit of grief for kind of being fatigued by the genre. But the one thing, if it's different, if it subverts my expectations with the comic book film genre, I usually am quite open to it. Or if the stakes are there and there's something that there's something to be lost with those stakes, usually wins me over. But the one scene, and it's such a throwaway thing for me, but I love it so much in Endgame, is in the first act when they're dealing with the aftermath, and they're having like a support group, and there's Captain America just being a dude. He's just being a regular superhero. He's there listening to people who have problems, and like that's what a superhero is, man. Like as much as we like to think it's capes and all that, but people that are there for you with real life stuff that perhaps isn't a giant monster taking over your city. So sometimes people need help, and it has to do with the fact that their grandmother just passed away, or they can't pay for groceries, or they're missing this. Those people are heroes too. And the fact that they showed Steve Rogers as this dude who's there for people, even without the outfit, even without all this pomp and circumstance, like that it was such a throwaway scene. I don't even think it was a full minute, that scene. It could have been part of a montage, I think, but it just hit me so hard. I was just like, yes, this is what I want from something like this. And I was won over from there. Oh, by the way, the ending's incredible. But that one scene, like I was sold. That's all I needed, was just to recognize that, this is what would happen in the real world. And yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and that's part of it. Yeah, so when I say that, it's not like I'm just like, yes, the ending is so great.
No, right.
What works with it is that they very easily could have made Endgame a 2-hour movie where it starts with Ant-Man going, right, guys, I got this plan, let's get this thing going. Whereas it actually kind of starts with like 45 minutes, 50 minutes of like dealing with what's happened, and then that whole Ant-Man kind of bringing up the idea of this concept of time travel is slowly kind of wormed into the storyline. And
there's like 3 separate movies.
You get 3 very distinct hours, kind of the slow burn fallout, and then set up to the second act and kind of the plan. Then you have the plan, and then you have just all out war for the last hour of the movie. So I'm glad that they took that chance. And you could say, well, if we make this movie 3 hours, we can't run it enough times at the multiplex and we won't make as much money. And it's like, well, I think they made enough money.
You were saying
that argument probably shouldn't be in the conversation anymore, really. But I mean, obviously with a Marvel movie, it was going to make a shitload of money anyway. But let's see, Marvel, they're not in it for the money. They're in it for a shitload of money. So yeah, that was our number 1, Avengers Endgame. I'll be very intrigued to see if it stays there. I think, you could probably just take a white room and just put Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley in it for 2 hours and having them act, and I'd probably still put episode 9 as my favorite of the year. But I feel like my investment in that is probably going to notch it up to the not to preemptively kind of put all my eggs in one basket, but I'd be very surprised if that doesn't kind of.
I don't think we've spoken face to face about this, that it appears that they are retconning certain elements. How do you, as someone who perhaps is the Last Jedi fan that I know of, how do you feel about that?
In which elements would you say?
There's rumors that they might retcon the fact that Luke died, that perhaps something else happened, that he was just using the Force. And
no, I don't buy that. I don't think that's going to happen. I'd be very surprised if it did. If it did, in theory, wouldn't be a fan of it. I think I like the fact that he has that moment. I don't think you do that twin sunset moment and then you go back on it. I think that would be a real shame and a real kick in the teeth to Rian Johnson. I think his place is best put in the Alec Guinness role of the original trilogy post Star Wars. We'll see him as a Force ghost, or maybe even not. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe it'll be. I saw this theory someone had, because obviously Luke is convinced to ease up a bit on Rey because of the hologram of Leia, as shown by R2 in Last Jedi. And someone came up with the idea, well, what if he left a hologram recording before he did this? And that could be the way we see him in episode 9, without going to the familiar trope of the Force ghost.
Yeah, like that's the one thing that I see that complaint. It seems like 6 times out of 10 somebody's like, well, Luke's dead now, so blah blah blah. And my thing always has been, yeah, but Obi-Wan was dead in the original trilogy more than he was alive. What does that mean?
Because the original trilogy wasn't Obi-Wan's story. The prequel trilogy was, and so he's very prevalent in that. And this trilogy is about the new characters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I guess we could say, actually, I was going to say we're going to talk about films we're looking forward to for the rest of the year, but you had the idea for, was it most disappointing?
It's just most disappointing, something you're looking forward to and really were kind of let down by, or something you didn't really think much of and were really pleasantly surprised at.
I think the only thing really, and it's middle of the road, is Toy Story 4.
In which direction?
Disappointing.
Okay.
Really good film. Really good. But I think it was being built up a bit too much, as if it was, and I even think the whole Toy Story franchise in general is a bit overrated for me.
Oh. Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think the first one is a masterpiece. I love the first one. It's just so simple. It's like it was an hour and 10 minutes long, perfectly paced, revolutionary technically, but the story's great. It's funny. Kids love it, adults love it.
Hmm.
The second one is really good. The third one is really good and has an amazing last 5 minutes.
Spectacular. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the closing moment of Toy Story 3 is fucking phenomenal. The rest of it's really good, but it doesn't quite match up. So when I see people saying like this is 10 out of 10 masterpieces, I'm like, I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
fourth one, I enjoyed it. It was a good film. I liked how it was from the perspective of the toys more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose all three of them are, but it's more about like the kid and stuff. Whereas this introduces the idea of toys going off independently, and so I
Mm-hmm.
like that aspect. But you know, overall, it was a nice film, quite touching, but nothing incredible like it was being built up to be when the reviews came out. So
Yeah. So films. This is a tie too, because I was looking at them and I can't decipher one or the other. Films that I was pleasantly surprised by, um, and wasn't expecting much for two totally different reasons. Aladdin, something that, now granted, I'm not saying these things are 5 stars. These are just things that Aladdin, when I saw that first trailer and that rather suspect CGI work, I got really nervous for the sake of the movie. And we went and saw it, and it was perfectly fine. It was an okay time. It wasn't, it wasn't the original, but it didn't need to be. It was an all right film, and sometimes that's all you need. And then the other one, which is tied for that, which kind of surprised me the most, was Shazam. Uh, Considering what we've gotten from DC, we now have two DC movies in a row. Aquaman, good time, having a little bit of fun with itself, and Shazam taking that fun and going a little bit further. I didn't expect much at all from Shazam, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that quite a bit more than I did Aladdin. But these are movies that I didn't expect. I expected maybe 2.5 stars, but I think I gave them like 3.5. Yeah, again, not much, but I expected train wrecks on both cases, but was pleasantly surprised by both.
okay, so your pleasantly surprised
Oh
picks,
boy.
my pleasantly surprised picks,
Uh-huh.
Snap, both of them. Yeah, Aladdin.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Shazam more than Aladdin for sure. That was one that just, yeah, it's a DC movie. Let's go check it out. Really enjoyed it. Really good time.
Hmm.
I loved the scene where he's flying in the city, and is it Mark Strong, the villain? He's flying over there, and he's like, "You," and he's doing the villain speech. He's like, "Dude, I can't hear you. You're like 100 feet away. Still can't hear you." Like, I just thought that was kind of fun. Um, but yeah, that was a really good film. I was really surprised by Shazam. Again, nothing fantastic, but
Hmm. Hmm.
um, one thing I remember about that was that it didn't feel like the kid who becomes Shazam. Like the way he acts is more like a jock when he becomes Shazam, and it didn't feel quite like the actual character when
Right.
he. But I liked his backstory with his mother as well. That was really quite affecting, actually.
Hmm.
I wasn't expect. I was, fun time, but there was actually a little bit of weight there that I liked, and I liked the foster family as well. I just thought that was quite a sweet element too. So yeah, I would say Shazam and Aladdin are two films that I was pleasantly surprised by as well.
Yeah. A movie that I was well, Pet Cemetery was a disappointment. That's just outright. But a movie that I really thought could have been something special and really kind of disappointed me was Brightburn,
I
which,
really like that. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not, again, it's in the middle. It's 23 for me
yeah,
out of
it's middle.
25. But there's just elements where I really felt like they could have covered certain things. And like a lot of the things he was doing felt random. And I've heard people say that it's him going through puberty, and it's all a metaphor for his puberty.
Mm.
But some of it, like I felt like there were pieces there that they really could have followed through on, and just a lot of missed opportunities where I don't know, that movie could be stronger. I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah, and there's probably more potential there, perhaps. But
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised by that one because I wasn't expecting too much, to be honest.
Okay.
It was really Connie who was really amped up for that one, and so she ended up being quite disappointed by it because she was expecting something even better. But so there, that was what she was disappointed. I was kind of surprised. So. The rest of the year, I would say, is The Irishman coming out this year?
I think so. Yes.
If it is, that's on my kind of anticipated list. But the two big ones I'd say are, is it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Is that the title?
Yeah, we're getting it this week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not August for us, unfortunately. So that's one that just, big time. And also The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, that they're still making that, huh? Okay.
Sure.
No, it's terrible news.
I saw someone talk about one of the hot take theories is that like the sequel trilogy is Kylo Ren's hero's journey.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that could wait, no. I don't think that quite works. But I am intrigued to see how he figures into everything by the end of it. I think Kevin Smith said recently, like a couple of days ago, that he spoke to someone who is making the film and said that the last frame of the movie will melt people's minds, which is a nice bit of hyperbole there.
Yeah, Kevin Smith has been known to be a little dramatic with his descriptions.
For sure, yeah. But at the same time, like the way Kevin Smith gets about everything, is how I get about Star Wars. So I kind of, when he talks about Star Wars, I'm a little bit more kind of susceptible to going, oh, okay, maybe that's. But so what would you say for you anticipated for the rest of the year?
I'm looking through the list here. Joker. I'm not putting everything on it. I'm certainly intrigued. I'm absolutely intrigued. There was one I passed. Ad Astra, I recently saw a trailer for, and I have curiosity about it, but I'm not putting much pressure on it. I'm looking through here. Doctor Sleep, which comes out in November, which is the sequel to Shining. Interesting. I know nothing of the novel.
No, me.
Yeah, so there's that. Ford versus Ferrari, which recently got a trailer here, which is with Christian Bale and Matt Damon, about Shelby, who built a Ford car that was faster than Ferrari. I tend not to really care about racing movies, but that last one with the Ron Howard film from a couple of years. Yeah, I really had a good time with that, and I don't care about racing.
No, me either. And that was one that made me look more into the actual, not too much, but the actual story of the two men and stuff. Great fun.
Yeah, Star Wars. Yep, and that looks like it as far as things that I'm like, oh, Terminator Dark Fate. It was reported this weekend that Edward Furlong is going to be in it.
Yeah, I saw on Wikipedia, like I'm sure about a year ago, it said like he's going to be in it as like with the CGI replacement face gimmick. So I can see where they might be going with that. When they announced it with Linda Hamilton coming back and Arnold coming back, I was like, okay, this could be, I could get behind this. Trailer came out. I don't think it's a good trailer. I agree. Yeah, the music choice just doesn't. I mean, take the whole trailer, exactly as it's edited, but place that metallic ding ding ding. It's going to be like 100 times better. Like you're making a sixth Terminator movie. Like there's no getting away from the fact that this is like the third or fourth attempt to kind of do it right. Use the fucking score. Like it's going to get people amped up about it. So I didn't like that choice. But even that, yeah, there's just some of it. It looks like all the other Terminator sequels to me, which is fine. But I don't think it's going to be the T3 that everyone's hoping. No, well, I wouldn't say everyone's hoping. I think people are on the same wavelength. When the trailer came out, a little bit mixed, I think.
Yeah, The other thing is, I think it's funny, again, as somebody who kind of talks about the news and what Hollywood's bitching about every week, seeing the fact that it's just mostly females. The Terminator franchise it's leaning on a strong female character. I don't know why you need to go over the top with not that I have a problem with it. It's just at first glance, it just seems like they're really trying to push it seemed like every major character in the trailer that wasn't the villain or Arnold Schwarzenegger was a female of some nature, and I really hope they don't try to do the 2019 in Hollywood thing where like again, I genuinely I don't care one way or another. Just don't shove it down my throat about any race, sex, any of that stuff. Just make a good movie. Just make a good movie.
Yeah, I know a lot of, and even when I heard that Linda Hamilton was coming back, it's like, oh, okay, now we're talking, you know. And
Right.
I know people are excited, but like when she walked out of that car in the trailer, and it's like, here she is, I
Mhm.
didn't feel that much. I didn't feel too amped up about it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just that kind of, okay, what else can we do to kind of, you know, inject more life into this
Yeah.
flailing corpse of a franchise?
Yeah. If this tanks, what's left?
I know, like I really enjoyed Terminator 3. I thought Salvation was pretty good. I really enjoyed Genesis, but much like the Alien franchise, it's just offshoots after the second movie, you know. I think T2 just ends so fucking perfectly.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, I'm on board. I'll see it. I'm kind of intrigued, but I think it is just going to be like all the other Terminator sequels, probably a pretty good action film, but
Hmm.
will it have anything more to say? Probably not, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting year ahead.
Yeah. But it's been a packed summer for like big movies, I think. Like it just seemed like with Disney just dominating all these like, you know.
Yeah. Well, for us, this is it. We had Lion King this week, and then we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood next week, and then it's the Fast and the Furious offshoot, and then it's just
Oh God.
bye bye summer movies.
I've seen the all three or four of those Hobbs and Shaw trailers like about 50 times now. That's just they're showing all the time. They're just running the promotion of that so far through my face. I feel like I never want to see that film. And I'm probably gonna end up watching it anyway. It's like that scene where they're ramming the guys' heads into the security thing, and it's just I've seen that scene
Yeah.
dozens of times.
Yeah.
Um, the one or multiple films I'm really looking forward to are all of the really good films that they're holding off until December for awards season that no one knows about yet.
Yeah. Something that nobody knows anything about, but we're gonna be in love with the second to last week of December.
Yeah. All right, so that was it. That was a little stream. Thank you for everyone in the comments. We weren't really reading comments all that much. Oh yeah, It Chapter 2. I'm really looking
Oh,
forward.
right.
Yeah. And the new Rambo movie that actually looks pretty decent. You know, kind of going for a Logan vibe, it seems.
Hmm.
Did you like the Predator movie? Nope.
I did.
Yeah, it was okay. Anyway, so I think we'll leave it there. If you've got anything you'd like to plug, go ahead. Anything that's coming up on your channel?
I talk about movie news every Monday night on my channel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which would be 2 a.m. GMT.
Something like that,
Yeah, we talk about the big show tomorrow because we're talking about Lion King, which just dominated, and all the San Diego Comic-Con news and trailers, and what a bust this weekend was. If you paid $2,000 to be there this weekend, you might be a little upset.
yeah.
But yeah, there's that. I have a criterion for you blue tubers. I have my full criterion after the Barnes and Noble sale. I'm putting together a rather ambitious collection video that perhaps doesn't need to be as polished as I'm making it, but that's coming up sometime soon. Otherwise, I get myself in trouble with my mouth. So keep an eye out for that.
What else is new? So yes, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed our lists, and we will definitely not be back at the end of the year to give you our revised list. You can just check out our respective channels and see where we fall with the end of 2019. And hey, maybe we could get together and do a stream on favorite films of the 2010s once we get near the end of the. Because I've noticed a lot of people now like best films of the decade, and it's like, well, we're not finished yet. But then I don't know if this.
I would assume we're going to get together sometime in December to geek out and.
Oh, well, we seem to drop that commentaries project as well with Star Wars, so
we'll have to steam through it. We have time. We have time. We could do 2 in a month or something like that.
Yeah.
Once we get past the prequels, it might be a little bit easier to get through.
But otherwise, that is it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Woo.